The last day of Democratic primary voting did not go too well for Bernie Sanders, and now many voices are calling for him to drop out of the race and clear the road for Joe Biden. However, Sanders says he is not willing to give up just yet. Now, Sanders says his campaign actually has the upper hand over his rival when it comes to the youth.
But it is not just the ideological debate that our progressive movement is winning. We are winning the generational debate. Today, I say to the Democratic establishment, in order to win in the future, you need to win the voters who represent the future of our country.
Now the polls confirm what Bernie Sanders says. Young people like him more than they like Joe Biden. And one of the goals of the Bernie Sanders campaign is to get them more involved in the electoral process. But it's not as easy as it sounds.
Have we been as successful as I would hope in bringing young people in? And the answer is no.
But why? Young people aged 20 to 35 approximately adds up to roughly 67 million people. If they all signed up to vote, Sanders would have quite the edge. But they haven't done that. Turnout among younger voters remains comparatively low. Some blame the procedure for registering to vote for the first time. For students who are going to school in another state, registering to vote can get quite complicated. Some said that the Electoral College and the party primary process is very confusing and complicated, and the quality of education on civic matters is quite low. We decided to talk to some younger people here in New York City and find out why the numbers of young people going out to vote is so low. Did you vote in the last election?
No.
Okay. Do you plan to vote in the upcoming primary vote?
Maybe.
Maybe. You better believe it, yeah.
Why might you not vote?
It just doesn't make sense that the public's opinion doesn't even matter when it comes to a presidential election.
Now, why do you think a lot of young Americans don't vote?
Because it doesn't make any sense to, because it mostly depends on the electoral votes, not really the people. Sometimes the lines are really long too, like our patience level is probably not as long as adults, so maybe that's why. Younger people just either don't think it's important because there's so many people voting, or they just, I don't know, actually, I couldn't tell you, yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of them probably think that their vote doesn't make a difference. At least that's what I hear from a lot of my friends who can vote. So that definitely is what happened last election as well.
I don't think they feel that their voice is heard is one of the reasons, and I don't think that they really understand what a difference it makes in our democracy today.
Are you going to vote for Sanders or Biden?
Sanders.
I'd like to keep that to myself, I guess. I like both of them. I guess I would pick Biden, I guess.
I think as I stand right now, leaning more towards Sanders.
Now, the Sanders campaign has been reaching out to younger voters with catchy slogans and internet memes. Some say this could hurt him with older voters who don't like the resentful tone or radicalism coming from the Sanders campaign. On the other hand, it's the younger generation, struggling with historic levels of debt and lack of health care, who have the most to gain or lose.
People in my age group, younger and a little bit older than me, like a lot of people like are working a lot, or they're at school, or both. So they just don't have time for politics. And there's also a lot of political apathy. The student debt, but it's also the healthcare and its jobs. Those are the three main things. Because a lot of people in my generation, the young generations, there's almost no future for us. A lot of these people who like Biden just want to keep things the way they are. All the people in the old generations, they have their pensions, they have this and that. They don't see anything wrong with anything. And I mean, half those people think that all the military actions that the U.S. has done in the past 20 years has been justified. It just gives people, to a lot of upper middle class liberal types, Biden reminds them of things where everything was fine and back to normal, even though for the overwhelming majority of the population of the U.S., things weren't normal. People were still struggling to get by.
Well, if Bernie Sanders does eventually drop out of the race, the Democratic Party's infighting might put crucial votes at risk come November's election. One American TV pundit drew fire online for suggesting she'd rather waste her vote than play along with the party establishment's manoeuvring against Sanders.
I don't think it's tenable for progressives to threaten to vote for Trump. I think that's nuts. I would never do that.
I would never vote for Donald Trump either, but you can leave it blank.
Here we go. Crystal Ball saying she will leave it blank in November. What an absolute hack.
This is a really great example of white privilege in action. With all that on the line, Crystal Ball, one of the biggest grifters on the scene, is using her platform to advocate for Trump's re-election. Just wear a MAGA hat and be done with it.
The behind-the-scenes soap opera playing out in the Democratic Party has been a gift to a lot of the US news coverage, who are stirring suggestions that support for Sanders will only help Trump get re-elected. The Vermont senator's backers are digging in, though, accusing his critics of being more than a little self-serving.
I will absolutely not vote for Biden when they try to guilt you into it by saying, you must be privileged not to be impacted by Trump's policies. Remember, they're trying desperately to hang onto their privileges, which they will never, ever extend to you.
The DNC may have just gotten Trump re-elected. Make no mistake, if Biden, who is totally demented, excites no one, and has zero good policies to offer, is the Democratic Party candidate, Trump will win re-election.
All of these are Republican Party and Russian hashtags. Don't buy into it. They are trying to prevent Bernie supporters from supporting Joe Biden, so that Trump wins an election he has no chance in.
Legal and media commentator Lionel says that if Sanders' supporters shun Joe Biden, party leaders only have themselves to blame.
There is a sizable faction, and always has been, well, for the last two elections, who support Bernie Sanders, who don't like the fact that Bernie Sanders has been shelved. He's been moved out of the way. For the second time in a row now, they're being told, listen, shut up. Vote for the party. Vote for us. Vote how you're told to. Listen to your elders. And what they're doing is they're saying, wait a minute. This is not my idea of voting. Remember, the lesser of two evils is still evil. They know they're going to get screwed again. And then you have other pundits who somehow have established themselves as being the voice of either progressive activism or Democrats, who are saying, no, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're violating your oath. And they're saying, the hell with your oath. I'm voting my way. That's what's happening.